Welcome. I'm Alex Mondosian. I have no idea if you and I have ever met, but today we will be revealing the most lucrative skill on earth. Although it's lucrative, some people fear it more than death, and it's about speaking on stage. Now, this is a virtual environment, but when you're on stage, you're naked. It's you and the audience. And I have someone who has more experience than anyone I've ever known. I have someone I want to invite you to not only get to know, but to download his free gift, which is an ebook about the 5 mistakes speakers make, ordinary speakers make. I want you to be extraordinary. And he's coached more speakers than anyone I personally know. And I know a lot of speakers and authors. Today, it's all about secrets to get more reach with your signature speech. That's what SIG stands for. Secrets to get more reach with your SIG speech. What is speaking? Okay. Speaking equals making more money. Okay. Sorry to sound trite, but it's true. You speak, you make more money. Why? There's nothing more intimate than that. Yes, you can curl up with a book in bed or on the throne in the bathroom or toilet or water closet, whatever you call it, no matter what country you're in. But when you hear someone live and they're engaging, it can be life-changing, and you want to continue to learn from them and with them. Now, speaking makes you a positioned expert. If there are 850 people in the audience, just like I will be experiencing in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, or in Bangalore, 400, Indians. The thing I love about India is they don't say yes. They go like this. So we don't know if it's yes or no, but I love the fact that they speak English and there's no translation. They get it. And it makes you an expert when you're the one on stage and they're in the audience. And then speaking is about repurposing your product. Every speech can be translated. Every speech can be transcribed. Every speech can be recorded on video or audio and just completely distributed and repurposed in the social media sphere. So here's the question, and I'm going to introduce my guest in just a moment. Are you speaking to grow your business? If you're not, your business could be on life support. If you're doing well, it could do even better. Now, if you want to get better at anything, you need to study and learn from the best. Now, if you see my eyes darting down, one of my principles of speaking, be transparent. I'm reading an introduction because I want to do him justice. He's a dear friend of mine. I love him. And I got to tell his wife, Alex is a man, because when I say I love you, he's been married over 50 years. I don't want her to be jealous. Now, to be better at golf, you need to play with better golfers. Same with tennis. And if you want to be a better author, you want to study the best authors. If you want to be a better speaker, you study the best speakers. Now, what I did is I would study speakers by transcribing their talks and then just reading them out aloud like it was me. You can do that. It's as simple as that. And so I've brought on board someone very special, 44 years. That's how long he's been a full-time professional speaker. Professional means you get paid to speak. He's a Hall of Fame speaker. He's been at over 3,000 events, physical events. Now, I've done over 5,000 interviews, but they've been virtual. And so imagine physical events and traveling. He's the original founder of the National Speakers Association. He's a recipient of the Golden Gavel Award, considered the highest award in the speaking profession. And his ability to teach other people is why he's here today. 10,000 speakers, not 5, not 7, not 9, 10,000. That's a lot. I think he stopped counting at 10,000. And he coaches Olympic athletes, professional football players, TV broadcasters, celebrities, such as Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. I know Kevin Harrington from the infomercial days back in the 1990s. Vern Harnish, the founder of, originally it was Young Entrepreneurs organization. Now it's just EO because the entrepreneurs got older and older, so you can't do young anymore, right? Legend Brian Tracy, And they have utilized this man to coach him and coach them. Now, he wanted me to tell you how old he is, but I'm not going to say that because he's young. And when you sense his energy, you won't even have a sense of how old he is. He does have experience and he has wisdom, not just knowledge. So back in the day, you know, he wants me to tell you he's so old, his social security number starts, or his social security number is 5. And he told me to remember that Baskin-Robbins only had one ice cream flavor when he was growing up. So I want to do him a service because he wrote a nice introduction that he thought would be valuable to you. But what's valuable to me is he's loyal. He's a master teacher. I call him maestro. The Italians call maestro like master. He says, I have no musical talent. I said, you don't need it. You're a maestro. You're a guru. You're a shifu. That's what they call it in China. You're a sensei. That's what they call it in Japan. You are a lama. That's what they call it in Tibet. So I'm not overselling it. I want you to meet Joel Weldon. Joel, welcome. And let's do this. So let's talk about speaking to grow your business. Let's begin with that question before we get into the details of the premises and the discoveries and all those kind of things. Why is speaking such an important part of growing any business?
Well, it's your ability to reach out and explain to people what is happening in your business and how it's going to benefit them. And whether you do that at live events, on a video, on audio, radio, television, and with the internet, the reach is tremendous. Look at the people that are listening to us right now from all over the world. And that's what you should be doing. Taking advantage of the ability to harness the time. And we're going to talk, what did you say, 35 minutes? So how many
Correct.
people could you reach in 35 minutes if you were talking to them one-on-one? One or two. It could be thousands right now. And that's why you should be speaking. And we're going to talk about why it's something you can do, because it's a learned skill. And if you're not good at it now, you can learn to be even better at it.
All right. Well, let's talk about premises. Now, a premise is an assumption. And if you have the wrong assumption, then you go in the wrong direction. And if you go in the wrong direction enthusiastically, that's not a good thing. So what are the 3 premises that you believe why speaking can skyrocket anyone's sales? People are here to watch on how to make more money. They're also here to protect their confidence. And speaking is feared more than dying in many cases. So what would you say as it relates to the assumptions and premises of speaking?
Well, the basic premise is, number one, big money talks. If you've gone to any kind of event and seen people on the stage and never wondered, how do they get there? And how much money are they earning? People earn millions of dollars speaking, and you should be doing the same thing to grow your business, sell your products, promote your company or business. And you're going to know in our short discussion how you can be an even better speaker. And you're going to have some practical ideas that you can use, and you'll feel even more excited about using speaking to do it. So the first premise is that it can skyrocket your income. And whether you speak, as I say, at a meeting or any of the social media places like this on Facebook Live, or in a radio or television interview, that's the first premise. Second premise is it's effective because it's so time effective. So in our time together, in under an hour, thousands of people could be reached. If you spoke to people at an hour at a time, it would take you thousands of hours to do that. So it's scalable. And of course, people are thinking, well, what would I speak about? Well, you speak about your passion. You speak about your expertise. You speak about the keys to what you have learned. And you speak to your prospects, your niche, your community, your followers. And there's so many places that you can be speaking. So many organizations are looking for speakers all the time. But as you said, fear. And we know that speaking is one of the biggest fears. And I love Jerry Seinfeld, the great American comedian, said at a funeral, the person giving the eulogy would rather be in the coffin. I mean, death would be better than speaking for some people. But Alex, you and I know that there are people who overcome that fear, and you'll act when your passion is greater than your fear. And when you do that, the results can be amazing. And you become not only an expert, but a thought leader. And the thought leader is the go-to person in their niche. And that's the benefit for you becoming a speaker that becomes amazing. And it is a possible thing for you to do. And it's based on your results. If you get results, you're going to be amazing. And you don't have to be a dynamic speaker to do that. Because I know you have a calling. You wouldn't be on this interview right now if you didn't feel something inside of you was telling you that you had a gift to share. And then you wonder, can I really do it? Well, as Alex said in that introduction, I've worked with over 10,000 speakers, and you can do it. So big money talks, it can skyrocket your income. It's an effective way to do it. And the third premise is it's tweaks. It's little things. It doesn't have to be big things. Joe Polish, the founder of Genius Network and a good friend of Alex and mine, says little hinges swing big doors. And when you have a system that allows you to be yourself and teaches you the skills, sometimes it's just a little thing. So as an example, if I said to you, Alex, I can help you earn more money. That sounds like a pretty good statement. But what is it really saying? You probably don't have a lot of money. But here, watch the power of a tweak. If I added a 4-letter word, every time if you use this word, every time you say more or better. So instead of saying, I can help you earn more money, what if I said to you, I can help you earn even more money? Or if I said to you, I can help you get in better shape. Well, you're probably fat and out of shape. But if I said, I can help you get in even better shape, look at the difference. Even before more and better is a tweak. And you can be an even better speaker by making some tweaks. And it gives people credit. It builds them up. And that's the power of words. I mean, words are so important. Don't say to somebody he's got a beer belly. He's got a liquid grain storage facility. I mean, that's the difference. Don't tell a woman she's a nag. She's just verbally repetitive. And Alex, I know you don't use profanity, but if you said to somebody he's a total ass, just convert that to he's got a rectal cranial inversion. And those are the power of words. Words make such a difference. So think of tweaks. So those are the premises. Now, I made some discoveries over these 44 years of 3,000 paid stages that I've been on, not counting all the ones that I did before I got paid. But the number one thing that I've learned, this discovery, is it is a learned skill. Alex, you're a great speaker, but when you were born, I don't think they held you up in front of your mother and said, look, marketing genius. No, you were a little kid and you probably had hair already. You got such thick hair. But everybody is born that way, and we learn through repetition and doing it. And yes, you have talents. You mentioned about maestro and music. Some people have a musical inclination. I don't. But if I had an interest, I probably could learn to play piano fairly well if I took the time, effort, and energy to get a coach and to practice and study. And that's what speaking is. And so many speakers I've worked with have found that once they do it, it's a life-changing experience.
Let me interrupt you just for a moment. So
sure.
I'll tell you my beginnings. I was 4 years old. I was brought into what my family tradition and spiritual attraction was the Armenian Apostolic Church, which is like Greek Orthodox, so it's a Christian faith. And so I used to go to St. Gregory Armenian Church in Pasadena, California. Now, Pasadena is right next to Glendale, and there's more Armenians in Glendale than the capital of Armenia, which is Etchmiadzin. And I used to recite classical Armenian poetry, kind of like a trained monkey, you know, the way Mozart's dad used to teach Mozart how to play the violin and piano and everything else. And my parents would get me at the dinner table, and that's what I did. We didn't talk. I memorized Armenian classical poetry, and it is hard. Imagine 15 minutes of a language you barely understand, even though I spoke Armenian. This is classical Armenian, which is like speaking Latin if you speak Italian. So At the end of the church service, they would get me on the altar, and I would give a speech. And at 4 years old, these elderly blue-haired widows, Armenians, right? Blue hair. I don't know why women have blue hair sometimes. Sometimes they're pink these days, but they would come up and pinch my right cheek. And by the end of the day, like 2 p.m. on Sunday, my right cheek was a lot more pink than my left cheek. And I'm talking the cheek on my face. So I didn't like that much, but that's where I got my practice. And we come into the world naked, cold, alone. It's a mess. Anything that starts is a mess. We're attached to our mothers, right? With the umbilical cord, I got to cut 2 of them with my son Gabriel and with Brianna. Maybe this is too much information, but here's the thing. This is the way you come into the world speaking. You come into the same way as you came into the world. Because when you're born, I mean, what do you know? You just know, I want to get fed. I need shelter. I need love. I need to be, held. So as a professional speaker, the moment you make your first dollar, you go from amateur to pro. I didn't make my first dollar until I was 27. And it was the worst speech I ever gave. It was worse than the recitals that I gave at church. Why? Because I thought I knew it all. And as John Wooden said, or I don't know if it was Harry S. Truman, I have no idea who said it, but many people are acknowledged with this quote. It's what you learn after you think you know it all that means most. So the 4 discoveries, this is what you'll discover on how speaking is a highly lucrative skill. I think the most important skill on earth. Joel, let's dive into it. Go for it. It's all yours.
All right. So number 2 is, well, first thing, if it's a learned skill. Second thing is be yourself. That's what I look. Authenticity is the key. If you're excited and enthusiastic, then speak enthusiastically. If you're more reserved, then you should be reserved. It's not a performance. It's a private conversation held publicly. You need to be congruent. I don't know how old you are, but if you're 44 years old, you spend 44 years being you. You don't want to be somebody else. If you're quiet and reserved, then just say, don't let my laid back style fool you. Inside, I'm really excited about these ideas. It just doesn't show. Matter of fact, I went on the first date I had with my wife. She slapped me. I wasn't getting fresh. She just thought I was dead. Okay, so I don't have a lot of energy, but I have a lot of wisdom for you. And that's what we're going to talk about. And then you get somebody like Alex, who's got all this energy and enthusiastic and the big voice. I mean, if Alex was the captain of the Titanic, he would have just told the people, we're just stopping for ice. All right, well, that's probably not you. But if you have shortcomings, if you have limitations, bring them up. That's why I wanted Alex to mention my age. Any group that I speak to, I'm the oldest person in the room. I mean, as he said, my Social Security number's 5. I got an autographed copy of the Bible. I can remember when the Dead Sea was just sick. I sometimes tell people I was a busboy at the Last Supper. All right, well, they know that's not true, but what should you laugh at yourself? Is it your bald head? Is it the size of your body? Is it your youthfulness? Bring that up. Be you. That's the key. Bill Belichick, who's the coach of the New England Patriots, I mean, you can't tell if they're winning or losing. He has no expression. He's boring and dull. He brightens a whole room when he leaves. But he's Bill all the time. Nick Saban from Alabama, he looks like he was weaned on a pickle. But he's always himself. And that's what you need to be. Be congruent, be in harmony. Oscar Wilde, the great writer, said, be yourself. Everybody else is taken. And that's what I talk about in those 5 mistakes speakers make, is they try to be somebody else. So that's discovery number 2, be yourself. Can I give discovery number 3? Would that be okay, Alex?
I was muted. You sure can. Go for it. You're on a roll.
All right, good. Well, I call it the lesson of the bus. So whenever you're speaking, you're the bus driver. It's a bus analogy. You're the bus driver. The passengers are your audience. The sign on the bus is what your topic is about. And the bus is your message. And that's so important to think of when you're speaking. You got to get people on the bus. And why I use the bus analogy, you can get off a bus at any stop. And people can get off your presentation, open up their smartphone and start texting or emailing if you're not relevant to them. So if you use that bus analogy, first, it's a learned skill. Be yourself, get them on the bus, And when you do that, you'll be more relaxed and more confident. That's the key. And then there's one other discovery, which we talked about in our pre-discussion. Start with a 10-minute talk. Start with a short message that's focused and concise. And if you don't have a message now, it becomes the basis of a longer talk or a video. If you think about that 10-minute talk, one of our fellow members of Genius Network that Alex knows, Stefan Wiesenbach from London. I worked with him about 4 years ago. He had a 10-minute talk to 42 people. 26 said yes to his offer, and he made $1.2 million in 10 minutes. Million in 10 minutes. Now, you're not going to make $1 million in 10 minutes, but I saw Alex generate $810,000 in 45 minutes, and that was the first time I saw him speak, and I knew he was amazing. Big money speaks, and you can make big money speaking when you get good at it. So think about 10-minute talk as a game changer. It could be the key to your wealth. It could be a door opener for you. And just in the last 3 years, I've been involved in 183 10-minute talks. And you want to make sure whatever you ask your audience to do, that they can do it, that it's doable. So let's summarize. 3 premises: that it can skyrocket your income because big money talks. Number 2 premise, it's an effective way time-wise, and it's little tweaks. Number 3. And our discoveries, it's a learned skill. Be yourself, get them on the bus, create a 10-minute talk, and it can be amazing for you. And Alex wanted me to talk about how you can create this signature talk, what you could do to have a powerful message. And that's really the 5 secrets. Now, we're going to give you the 5 mistakes in the ebook follow-up. But if we think about the secrets, but let me ask you this. How do you always deliver the right message? Well, the secret number 1 will help you. Now, Alex, you need
now,
to
hang on. Before you get to secret number 1, I want to frame some things. Now, I'm wearing my Genius Network shirt, so I get all my Genius Network's brothers and sisters on board. And, you know, since Joel's been talking about his age, he's the godfather. He's the godfather of not only giving feedback to the speakers for the 10-minute talks, but also there's a big event with nearly 600 people every year. It's usually in Arizona. And if you're watching this or reading this or listening to this, because there's one of 3 ways you can consume this masterclass, then it's in October. Excuse me, it's in November. It's in November.
And it's $450 this year. That's maximum out. We sold out 330 the past years, sold out in advance. It'll be sold out again this year.
Well, and I'm doing everything I can. Now, a year ago, there was a guy who really didn't give a great presentation his first go around, and probably his second or his third. But when he got on stage and he was groomed by you, Joel, and he has been given opportunities by Joe Polish and others, and he's an excellent writer. He writes articles and he gets over 20,000 opt-ins and leads every single month writing articles. But he wrote a book, and it made my slow read book list. Now, what's a slow read book? You know, some people say I read 1 book a week. No, and that's not my slow read book. A slow read book is where I read it once, I read it again and I highlight, and I read it a 3rd time and I underline, I read it a 4th time and I put tabs. That's a slow read book. It takes me 1 month to read a slow read book because it's like the name suggests, it's a slow read book. Why do I do that? It's because this person probably put a couple years and maybe years of experience into the book. Why can't I know the topic almost as good as him or her? So I'm talking about none other than Ben Hardy. Now, Hardy's a great name because Darren Hardy of Success Magazine and of DarrenDaily.com, he's a great mind, but you know, Ben is a little younger. He says willpower doesn't work. And I believe that. I've been teaching that for years. Environment always wins. Your environment always wins. So that's the premise of this book. And if you look at these tabs here, you'll notice that it's a slow read book. If you look at the underlines and the highlights and stuff like that, I want to do honor to Ben because Ben is a great speaker. And a year ago, not even half a year ago, he gave a talk that was off the charts. And I bet he learned all 5 of the secrets that you're about to divulge. And people don't remember the secrets or the benefits or the advantages. They remember the stories. So let's talk about Ben just for a moment, because in the acknowledgments, he says some very kind things about you, Joel. And Joel Weldon, I'm thankful to Joel Weldon for how beautifully and powerfully, I think those are adverbs, he's helped me become a better speaker, and for his extreme generosity in providing me lifetime changing opportunities. So I don't want to embarrass you, but you've done a lot of good for a lot of people.
Well, he's a great guy, and it was a joy working with him.
So let's talk about how he started, though. Let's talk about how he started, because he didn't fear speaking more than death. How did he start, and where did he end up? Because that talk is, I believe, the seed of a #1 bestseller.
Well, let me ask you this: what is our time frame left for our discussion?
Well, we're going to go some extra time because you're Joel Weldon.
Okay, all right. If you, I thought we were on a very tight.
We are.
You tell me to do. You tell me what we do. So we're going to go
Ben's story for 2 minutes, and I'll give you 5 minutes for the 5 secrets. Okay.
5 minutes. I won't be able to do the 5 secrets in 5 minutes, so we'll have to shortcut those.
You got 7 minutes then.
All right, then let's not answer Ben if you want the 5 secrets. It's your show. You decide what you want.
You got 10 minutes. Go ahead and answer Ben.
Well, the main thing about Ben is I really helped him use the 5 secrets because he didn't know what he was going to talk about. He knew what he was going to talk about, but he didn't know how to do it in 10 minutes because he had too many things to cover. So we boiled it down to how he used writing to build his email list. And we covered 3 very specific things. And that's what you need to think of. And we're going to talk about, because that's part of these secrets, you'll see why Ben's talk, and I'm sure that Alex can figure out a way for you to see what he did at our annual event, because it was amazing. But let me give you the first secret by asking you a question, Alex. And this is not rehearsed. You can tell by my question about time. So he has no idea what I'm going to say to you. But tonight, Alex, you're going to leave home, leave your family, and we need you to go to a hotel. I'll give you the address. And you got to talk about safe driving. And I know you're a great speaker. All right, give me some of the don'ts quickly off the top of your head that don't do this when you drive to be a safe driver. Go, Alex.
Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. What else?
Don't take your eye off the road.
Don't take your eye off the road. What else?
Don't look in the rear view mirror for a prolonged period of time.
Okay, focusing ahead.
Don't talk on the phone.
Don't talk on the phone.
And risk a $250 ticket in California like I've gotten.
All right. What should we do? If we're going to be safe driving, we know what not to do. What should we do?
Look at the road in front of you. Look at your GPS to make sure you're going where you need to go. Do listen to a book on audio like I do with Audible.
Okay. So we're going to pay attention to the road. We're going to listen to a book. Let me just stop you. Unfortunately, this is a disaster. You have completely failed the test. As bright as you are, Alex, I'm so sorry to tell you, because the first secret of speaking is to ask, who is the audience? So let me repeat the situation. Tonight, we're going to have you go to speak to an audience, and we got to have you talk about safe driving. Now, ask me the single most important question a speaker needs to ask before they ever speak. Who
is your audience? Thank you for emasculating me in public, but I'll take it like, a friend.
Well, you told me you're a big boy. So the answer to the question is they're NASCAR drivers. And NASCAR's been having a lot of accidents on the track, and they wanted you to come in and talk to them. And now they're going to make sure they don't drink and drive. They're going to obey the signs. They're going to you probably would have told them not to tailgate. And they're going to be defensive and cautious. This is great advice, isn't it, for NASCAR drivers? So can you see from that exaggerated example, if you will always begin your thinking, who is my audience? And it completely will change the focus of your message, because we talked about a signature talk. I never have given the same talk twice because I don't speak to the same audience on that day ever again. So that's the first secret. Second secret, how do you immediately connect with any audience? Would that be helpful for you? Well, this is my discovery. I made it in 1992, and I use it every single time. And so have tens of thousands of speakers I've worked with. And here's the secret. Number 2, NFV, needs, fears, victories. If you know your audience, what do they need to be doing they're not doing now, or thinking or feeling? What are they afraid of, worried about, concerned about? What keeps them up at night? And the victories are their successes, their achievements, their big wins, their claims to fame. So if you would think of that, who's my audience? What are their NFVs? And now the third secret, how to make sure that you have such clarity that it is impossible to be misunderstood. And Alex, this is what you did in your verb speech. And the third secret is, if you would start every presentation by asking yourself, what is your golden thread? And the golden thread is one sentence that summarizes your entire message, whether it's a 10-minute message, a 30-minute message, a 2-hour message. In one sentence, what is that about? And what the ordinary speaker does, it's like a clothesline. So on this golden thread, you're going to hang ideas, but most people hang everything they can think of on their clothesline. They hang sheets and pillowcases and socks and underwear and T-shirts. But if you have a clear golden thread, the golden thread is colored T-shirts. If that's the case, you can only talk about colored T-shirts. You can talk about. Let me give you the golden thread for this masterclass: secrets to get more reach with your signature speech. Now, the golden thread many times is known as the through line in a book, in a course, mostly in a movie. And that golden thread is golden because it's the relevance to which your talk is focused on. It's easy to go through rabbit holes and people go, well, what am I supposed to remember? But if you want to get more reach through a signature speech, then this is what the masterclass is all about. Back to you. All right. Well, you mentioned a key word. There's an old example in Scottsdale, Arizona. There's a Catholic school. The kids were going through the food line, and there's a big bowl of apples, and there's a sign in beautiful penmanship by one of the nuns at the school. It said, "Take only one apple. God is watching." At the end of the food line was a plate of chocolate chip cookies. Another sign written on a napkin by crayon, obviously by one of the kids in the school, and it said, "Take all the cookies you want. God is watching the apples." The question is, what are you watching? Are you focused on your golden thread? Are you so specific in what you're talking about that it is impossible to be misunderstood? That's the key. And that's the mistake speakers make. Fourth secret for you. How do you keep your audience always fully engaged in your message? And if you will replay this message, you'll see that I've been using the you connection since we started. And that means talking about your audience. And your audience is only one person. Alex, you read all these names from all over the world that people are watching? No, there's only one of you, and that's you. I'm talking to you right now. And that's what you need to think of. You have one audience message. It's not all of you out there. It's not you guys. It's you. And it's not about you personally. It's not the I word, it's the you word. And that's how you stay connected to an audience. Instead of saying, I love this idea, say, you're going to love this idea. Oh, this is my favorite story. I hear speakers say that all the time. I feel like yelling from the audience, good, go in the bathroom and tell it to yourself. What about me? You're going to love this story. It's going to be so helpful for you. It's amazing if you just do little things like that. Taking away the plural and making it singular. Take away the I and make it you. Look at your last email and count how many times you said I and how many times you said you. What if you wrote Alex a thank you email? Alex, I love that interview. I got so many great ideas. I felt it was so helpful. I can't wait for the next one. There's 4 I's right there, not a single you. But what if the email said, Alex, you were amazing. Your guests always bring so much information. You always have a way of framing things and making it so clear. You're just a delight to listen to. Hardly wait till your next session. I just used 5 yous in that one sentence. Which had more power? Which had more impact? Look at your last email and count how many times you said I and how many times you said you. And that'll make a difference in your speaking. Not that you can't use I, but follow it with a U. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. Thank you. There's no I in thank I, right? Thank you. You're welcome. Your is a you. So if you just look at just the natural way to show gratitude, it's about you and it's not about I. Back to you, Joel.
All right. Well, we got the fifth secret. Now, the fifth secret is, how do you build an emotional connection with your audience? And if you understand, the key is, well, let me give you an example. You might be saying, Joel, this probably is so easy for you. How am I going to do this? I mean, you're in the Speakers Hall of Fame. You've been paid 3,000 times. You get paid a lot of money to speak. You know, I'm not there. Well, you don't remember where I started from because you're not old enough to remember. And that's what is important. Where are you starting from? I couldn't lead my Sunday school class in silent prayer. 4 years of high school, I never addressed my classmates. I was terrible standing up in front of a group. I went to Far Rockaway High School in Queens, New York, and not a single person knew who I was at my 50th anniversary because I never talked to anybody. I didn't get a college education. I was a carpenter. Where did you start? What was your life like when you were 18 years old? Well, fast forward until you were 26 years old. I was making $62.50 a week as a carpenter, going nowhere. Got into a sales job, got a little promotion, moved to Arizona. And do you remember the day your life changed? Well, mine was September 4th, 1969, the first time I stood up in front of a group at a sales meeting and I talked. 17 people in the room. The meeting ended. A man comes back in and he says, would you like some feedback on the meeting? And I said, yes, that would be helpful. He said, this is the worst meeting I've ever been to, and you're the worst speaker I have ever heard in my entire life. That was total despair for me. I tried so hard, but it was terrible. And I started to cry. He said, stop crying. You're not a baby. You're 28 years old. Come with me and I'm going to fix you. And I said, what do you mean fix me? Now, how would you have felt if that was you? The first time you spoke, somebody told you you were the worst speaker that they ever heard. Well, the defining moment occurred the next week on September 9th, 1969, when I went to his Toastmasters Club in Tempe, Arizona, to overcome my fear and inability to speak. And a decision was made that day as I sat watching these people at a meeting. I must learn to speak effectively. And hopefully, if there's one thing that comes out of you watching this show with Alex, is decide that you want to be a more effective speaker. Well, I joined that Toastmasters Club, never missed a meeting for 5 years, entered a speech contest in 1974 in my little club in Tempe, Arizona, and ended up at the world finals, placed in the top 3 in the world. It was written up in the Arizona Republic newspaper. How would you feel? 5 years before, you couldn't walk and chew gum and speak at the same time. And now you're one of the top 3 speakers in the world for Toastmasters out of 60,000 competitors that year. It was written up in the Arizona Republic, our #1 paper in the state. And a guy calls me on the phone. He said, would you come and speak at our banquet? I said, why me? He said, well, you must be an expert because you're a speaker. Well, I didn't think I was a speaker, but he did, because he heard I spoke. And that's what can happen to you. And then he told me the date and I said, sure, I'll come. He said, we have to talk about money. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, how does $25 sound? This was in 1974. I said, well, that sounds fine. Where do I mail the check to? He says, no, you get 25. I said, I get $25? He said, yeah, we give you a chicken dinner. And that was my first paid speech. And from that one speech, I gave 274 talks at $25, 1974 in Arizona. How is that possible? I mean, I was making $62.50 a week as a carpenter at 26. Now at 33, I'm one of the top Toastmasters in the world. 10 years later, I'm in the Speakers Hall of Fame, charging $10,000 an hour back then, making $1 million a year as a speaker with 5 cassette programs. Because big money talks. And if I can do it, you can do it. I've never coached anybody that was worse than I was. And so I know if I could learn this skill, look where you are now. You're so much more successful. It's something that you can learn to do. And my grandkids were gifted in elementary school. My 3 kids had Toastmasters training in 5th and 6th grade. And 3 of them, well, one just graduated college. So 2 more in college, one just graduated, one's going to Annapolis. And one of the things that made them so successful in high school, they knew how to speak in front of a group. And you can do the same thing. My life has changed for the good because of one main decision: using speaking as a tool to improve myself, and never realizing it would become my profession for 44 years. And that's what can happen to you. You can use it to grow your business, to make even more money when you sell. It's a learned skill. Make the decision that today is the day that you put a line in the sand and that you're going to be an even better speaker. And if you read those 5 mistakes that ordinary speakers make, it'll move you in that direction. And you'll become so much more confident in what you can do and positioning yourself as an expert. So I went through them fast, Alex. Those were the 5 secrets to help you be an even better speaker.
Well, let's do a quick review. And before we do that, commitment produces passion. Many people think passion produces commitment. If I'm passionate about something, I'll be committed to it. Wrong. Not according to my experience. It may be your experience, but not mine. I know passionate people who are unhappy. I know passionate people who don't commit. I know passionate people who are borderline suicidal. They're passionately underachievers. They're over-motivated underachievers. Commitment produces passion. My good friend T. Harv Eker says, first you need the wood, then you have the fire. So if commitment is the wood, passion is the fire. You need something to burn. So if you are committed to avoiding the things that will embarrass you, to avoiding the things that will cause you to lose money, to avoiding the things that will never motivate you to get on stage again, those are the mistakes. And what Joel has produced, and Joel does coaching. If you want to hire him, I think he's underpriced. I don't want him to raise his prices before he starts coaching me, but he is underpriced, and he's coached many top thought leaders. And I've been kind of unsolicitedly coaching him and telling him, come on, man. I know you talk about how old you are and your social security number is 5, but you got to raise your price. So I don't want him to do it just yet, but he has put together a masterful approach to successful speaking. And it's the 5 mistakes ordinary speakers make. Now, if you're extraordinary, you don't make these mistakes. And once you know the mistakes, you'll avoid them. He's a Hall of Fame speaker, and all you got to do is go to marketingonline.com/SIG speech. marketingonline.com/SIG speech. Now, if you want instant access to the 5 mistakes speakers make, you can do it immediately on your mobile phone. In most countries, text the word speech, SPECH. Text that to 415-980-3555. And then you'll get it. Or you can simply go to marketingonline.com/SIG speech. You'll get it faster by mobile phone. Now let's do a review rampage. Here we go. So number 1, secrets to get more reach with your signature speech. Bam, done. Speaking equals more money. Bam. Speaking equals becoming a positioned expert. Look at that. What's the chances of that happening? Boom. Boom is said a lot these days. Speaking is about repurposing your content. Okay, you want to productize your business. Now, are you speaking to grow your business? That was the question. Review rampage really quick. Joel, what are the 3 premises why speaking can skyrocket sales? You're on. Go for it.
Well, big money speaks. It's a very effective way to do it, and you do it with tweaks.
All right. That's exactly the way I want it. The 4 discoveries of how speaking is highly lucrative, probably the most lucrative skill on earth? Okay, give them to me, Joel. Go.
The 4 discoveries. It's a learned skill. You want to be yourself. That's so important. Remember the bus analogy, and then the idea of creating a 10-minute talk.
All right. And then the 5 discoveries. Well, actually, the 5 secrets.
5 secrets, right.
The 5 secrets to craft your best signature speech ever. Go for it. What are they?
Number 1 is know your audience. Number 2 is what are their NFVs, the needs, fears, and victories. Number 3, what is the golden thread? Think about how important that is. Number 4 is using the you factor, keeping them fully engaged. And then I didn't really identify, because I wanted to save it for the end, the 5th secret was using your personal story and the 5 Ds. And I didn't identify those, but they're in that story if you go back and listen to it. And as an added bonus, when you get those 5 mistakes ordinary speakers make when they speak, I made a video on how to tell your personal story using the 5D formula. And that's an added bonus for you. And that summarizes what we talked about, Alex.
Yeah, and if you are open, willing, and it's in your budget, hire Joel as your speaker coach, as I'm going to, because I'm about to do my keynote speeches. I'm a platform selling speaker. So I get on stage, I get paid nothing, and then I have people run, crawl, skip to the back of the room. But I'm going to get paid as a platform speaker. I'll go to friends of mine like Jack Canfield or Ivan Meisner and people who get paid lots and lots of money and say, hey, I'll be your number 2. So when they are not getting paid what they want to get paid, I'll say, well, Alex is my guy. He'll give his speech called Discover Your Verb. It's a great icebreaker. Hopefully I'll be giving it at the big event at Genius Network. That's a seed. That's hint, hint. Okay. Hopefully I'm the first one because it's a really good icebreaker, Joe Polish and Eunice and everyone else. All right. But we'll see what happens. No pressure. And so the goal is, okay, I won't be number 1. Maybe I'll be number 2. Harvey McKay taught me that. And so I don't mind not getting paid $25,000 for a speech. I usually have to sell something. How about if I get paid $5,000 or $10,000? I'll do it as a keynote speaker. Right?
Can I add something to that, Alex?
Yeah, you sure can.
As you're watching and listening to this, there's three ways to use speaking. Number 1 is you're a content speaker. That's what I was. I was paid to share specific ideas to an audience where you get a fee to speak. So that's number 1. Number 2 is a sales speaker. And that's what Alex has been. That's when I saw him at the annual event of Genius Network and in 45 minutes selling $810,000 worth of an investment. So you can use speaking to sell. So there's content speakers, there's sales speakers, and then there are CEO speakers, I call them. A CEO speaker is a person who has a business that you want to promote. And that's what our friend Stefan Wiesenbeck did in London, England. He didn't get paid to speak to the 42 people. He was there to sell his business and his business's product, and in 10 minutes generated $1.2 million. So you can be all 3 of those, or you can just be one of them. But whatever you do, use speaking to grow your business and position you as an expert, which then can lead to you being a thought leader. And Alex has achieved that reputation as a thought leader in the marketing world. And you can do it in your world.
You fake it until you make it. And one of the ways to avoid the things that you don't want to do that cause embarrassment causes wars, my friend. Wars. So avoid the battle between your ears. Get instant access to 5 mistakes speakers make. This is designed by Joel. No opt-in required. Text the word speech, SPEECH. And I want you to just text it to 415-980-3555. That's instant, right to the palm of your hand. And then you can also go to marketingonline.com/SIG speech, SIGSPEECH, in case you're in a country where our mobile texting does not work. I'm Alex Mondosian on behalf of Joel Weldon. What I want to do is wish you not only great profits through your public speaking, but I want to wish you a great opportunity to get on stage and make a difference with people who are silently begging to listen from you. Joel, you got the final word. Go for it.
Well, you've heard what Alex said. Now it's up to you to make a decision. How much better do you want to get? And if you're already good, answer this question. Are you successful because of what you're doing or in spite of what you're doing? And I've seen a lot of speakers do very well in spite of what they're doing. And if you can eliminate that by making tweaks, by improving just a little bit, it's amazing the difference it can make. And you can change so many lives with the words that you use. So I'd like to leave you with the power of words. This guy looks at his girlfriend and he says, when I look at you, time stands still. And she falls into his arms and kisses him. His buddy overhears it and figures, I'm going to use that on my girlfriend tomorrow night. But he's not focused on the words. And he looks at his girlfriend and says, when I look at you, your face could stop a clock. He doesn't get any kissing. And you're not either, unless you're good in front of a group. Now go out, get even better at speaking, and make it a great day.
On behalf of Joel Weldon and the Genius Network, where I met him, I'm Alex Mondosian. I hope our paths cross again soon. All good wishes.